Okay, in this video we're going to give you a little bit more of an insight into Facades 101. So what is a facade and why are they priced so differently? So the first thing is to give you a little bit of context about facades, understanding that we're just using ours as an example. Most builders will provide you with at least one, but some standard facades included in the base price, and then they'll provide you some upgraded options as well. So you'll see here, like for example, there's 4 that are included as standard on the left and up the top here, and then they start introducing some upgrade prices because some facades just simply cost more to build and more to construct. And these days there's some really nice options out there with various builders to choose from. So if you want to upgrade to nicer facades, then go for it and budget for that. But truth be told, the standard facades are also pretty good these days. They will tick off all the requirements for the most part with developers, with having render on the facades and contrasting finishes, etc. Okay, so that's the first look at what you'll get. One of the things I like to explain to people that I talk to is that facades are often presented in different formats. So understanding that the most common format, the initial one you see here, is a facade render. So that's a 3D model of, I guess it's been created, including some landscaping, etc. As I touched on in the House and Land Packages video, these are not true reflections of what you get, as in they're not exactly what you get, but they're a pretty good guide and understanding, okay? Another way to look at it is to find out a bit more detail would be to look at facade drawings if your builder can provide those to you, or your sales consultant. That will actually give you a little bit more detail from render 1, render 2 perspective. Oh, I've just jumped ahead. That will help you understand what exactly the materials and finishes are. Another one you can look at, this is probably the most common one that people see, is obviously, I just moved my head out of the way there, is display facade. Okay, so this is just one I've taken from the internet. Beautiful looking facade from Metricon. Now, I don't know what this facade's called, but for the purpose of understanding it, this facade on display may have some upgraded windows, an upgraded door. They may have upgraded the brick here to a different category. Maybe it's category 12 instead of what is included in your base price might be category 1 or 2. Okay, so when you go to Display Villages, understand that the facade may be the facade, but they may have bolted on some additional upgrades to make it look even better and give it more wow factor. Okay, so be sure to keep that in mind. One of the best ways we find to present facades is, if you can find them, is in a photo format, because then you can really see the end product. Okay, so that's one of ours there, which is actually the same as these. So that's the render, and that's the actual facade result at the end. The other thing to consider and understand is that, and in fairness to builders, they cannot provide a facade render for every single lot width or house width for every single facade, because it would just be such an expensive exercise. So the drawings to show you here that there are houses, when you buy houses, there's 8-meter ones, there's 10.5 or 10-meter ones. There's the most common, which would be a 12, which is just under there, 12.5 meter block. Then there's 14, and then there's bigger as well. So this is actually the same facade presented on different lot widths. Okay, so the reason I'm showing this is, even though the facade image on the previous slide showed you a double garage, and I'm just trying to get back to the slide, showed you a nice wide facade render with a double garage. The reality is you need to understand what your facade's going to look like on your block. So if you're buying a little sort of a smaller and more narrow block, your facade's not going to have that external wall here. It'll be very tight, and the windows will be a bit closer together. There'll be a little bit more room, obviously, in the internal room, and therefore on the width here for a 10.5. And then the story goes the same for the other two. It's much wider, you see here. So looking at this image, you'll see the drawing as a bit of width there, a little bit there, and a little bit there. Again, if you go back to here, you'll see that this actually represents a 14-meter facade render. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more. One handy tip, we see a lot of facades that fade or age quickly. So when you choose a facade, think really practically about it and think about what it would look like in 2 years or 5 years. Okay, so one of the things we see quite common, if you drive around estates, it's very common to see timber facades, whilst they look good brand new. If they're not maintained, then they can fade and look a bit average over time. So just be mindful of what it is you're purchasing and really understand what it might look down the track. The best tip I can give you is if you have a few facades in mind, ask your sales consultant, hey, do you have any of these already built that I can just drive past and have a look at? And they should be able to provide you a list, hopefully, of a couple of facades. That's the best way for you to know ultimately what it looks like. Okay, so we'll see you for the next video.